plane full of passengers crashed into the seabed 1,000 meters deep, but inside the cabin, not a single drop of water had seeped in. Everyone was safe, but they didn't know that the plane was thousands of meters deep underwater. Once the oxygen ran out, everyone would die. It was too far from the surface, and the communication equipment couldn't receive a signal. At this time, the airport control tower still didn't know about the plane crash. They were trapped in the cabin, waiting for death. Then, Samanon discovered that seawater was slowly seeping in. The captain understood that they couldn't just sit and wait for death, and came up with a desperate plan. He would personally take the signal receiver to the surface, but at a depth of 1,000 meters, the pressure was terrifying. Once they lost the protection of the fuselage, their bodies wouldn't be able to withstand it. But this was the only way to save people. The captain immediately took action. He and his assistant put on their survival gear. The crew members closed the cabin door, isolating them in a small compartment. However, as soon as the plan started, a fatal problem emerged. The moment the cabin door opened, seawater rushed in violently. The assistant was knocked unconscious on the spot. In this critical situation, the captain took off his oxygen mask, only to find that his assistant had stopped breathing. The captain resolutely turned around. He couldn't stop, because there were dozens of passengers waiting in the cabin. He swam with all his might to the cabin door, opened the signal receiver, and the yellow air valve quickly inflated, sending it to the surface. The captain swam desperately upwards, just before suffocating. He finally climbed onto the inflatable raft. After pressing the distress button, his strength was exhausted, and he could only wait quietly. A warship conducting exercises unexpectedly received the signal. They immediately sent people to rescue the captain. Upon learning that the entire plane was still on the seabed, the captain realized that this was a rescue mission that could not fail. The rescue team quickly found the plane, but a new problem arose. If the fuselage was damaged, seawater would instantly flood in, and everyone in the cabin would perish. Ultimately, they decided to use buoyancy to lift the entire plane to the surface. Time was of the essence. The rescue team acted quickly, threading thick lifting straps through the bottom of the fuselage, connecting them to a dozen huge balloons. Then they began to inflate them. Under the effect of buoyancy, the plane slowly began to rise to the surface.